We had another great session on Office 365 in the ongoing Advisors for Advisors webinar series. This one was on SharePoint, entitled SharePoint 102 Beyond the Basics. In addition to reviewing the SharePoint administration panel and how to manage site collections and data storage quotas, we also covered the SharePoint hierarchy from collections to sites to libraries and apps, and all the way to subsites. We also discussed site contents and site settings, particularly users and permissions and changing the look of your SharePoint site. Now, SharePoint's a big topic, and it has an enormous set of capabilities and options. But focusing on financial professionals from the solo to the much larger firm, we wanted to make sure everyone had an understanding of some of the basics and cover some of the questions that we see when we're working with advisors using Office 365. So the first question was, where do I go to access my OneDrive versus my OneDrive for Business versus my team site? And that was a good question because, as we talked about, OneDrive for Business is part of SharePoint, and when we get into the details, it's sometimes easy to forget where we are in the bigger scheme of things. There are actually two primary methods by which you can access one versus the other. And if you've synchronized your OneDrive for Business and Team Site libraries, you can go to your Windows Explorer to access the data. Now we're showing here a screenshot of Windows Explorer. We've sort of redacted all the names here so you can't see the folders. But you could click on, we've selected OneDrive here, but you could also select SharePoint here and see all the other libraries and sites that might be in your SharePoint environment. If you go online and access Office 365 through a browser, you can click on Office 365 in the upper left-hand corner, which you can see here, and go to the screen that reveals all the tiles. And then you can either click on OneDrive here or SharePoint or Sites here to get to the team site. So if you click on the Sites tile, you'll be presented with this screen. Again, here's your team site is listed as something that you're probably already going to follow, and then any other sites that you may be following in your SharePoint environment will be presented on this screen. So that makes it really easy to access the contents of each one of those types of either OneDrive for Business or your SharePoint team site. The second question was, is the team site already present, or do I need to add it to my Office 365 account? And the answer to this one is very straightforward. You do not need to add it. It is already there. It is provisioned automatically when you start your Office 365 account. The third and final question was, I have a document library with many subfolders. Do members have the ability to do a keyword search that will scan all of the documents? Well, that was a great question, and I like the fact that folks are thinking through how to implement and use the features of SharePoint and Office 365. The answer is yes, and it's very similar to the answer to the first question. There are two possible methods of accomplishing this search. Just like before, if you've already synchronized the libraries, you can go to the Windows Explorer, select OneDrive like I'm showing here, and then in the upper right-hand corner of the Windows Explorer is the search bar, and you can start your search that way. You can drill down and search the entire drive, or you could drill down and search just a folder. There's also a site-wide search feature in SharePoint, and the search bar position is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen underneath your photo in the gear. And of course you can customize, we talked about this and change the look, you can customize the look of this if you want in your SharePoint environment, but this is where it's located. And just for completeness, I want to talk about OneDrive for Business. If you want to do an online search for your OneDrive for Business, the online version, click the tile and log in and click the tile. And that search bar is in the upper left-hand corner, so it's underneath the Office 365 and the tiles, and it's right here. You can search through, of course you can search through the Windows Explorer if you've synchronized the drive, which I think we've covered. Okay, so those were the questions, and I invite you to check out the next session, which is scheduled for September 22nd. It's going to be, the topic is going to be Administering Office 365. That's a little hard to see there, but there's more information at that link, or you can just go to advisors4advisors.com/webinars. Thanks, see you next time.